Hello and welcome, Janet Beckers here. Well, this week is a really significant week for me in my business because this week we will totally wipe from the face of the earth my award-winning membership site that I ran for 10 years. The business that launched me as an international speaker, as a best-selling author, that the business that built my tribe around me, the business that took me from being unknown to having a list of thousands, customers all around the world, and to winning numerous awards for best membership site, for best business marketing strategy, and also for a very competitive Australian Marketer of the Year, all through that business and that website. Now that business was called Wonderful Web Women, and I started that about 10 years ago, and it's this beautiful, beautiful business progressed me through where I am now. So why on earth would I want to close it? Well, I'm not just closing it, I am totally removing all of the files, all of the software, everything associated with it is being removed from our hosting this week. So that's what I'm going to share with you today. Why have I made that decision? That is a huge one to make. And I'm going to help you to understand the different stages that led to that decision and the lessons learnt. So you may actually find that there are points here that you may need to look at to decide if your business is the right brand for you. And also, are there little lessons that you can be picking up along the way through the different stages that I've gone through that you can use to tweak your existing business? So that's what I'm going to be sharing with you today. And to tell you, it feels really weird. It's a really weird energy that I'm feeling around this today because I made the decision 12 months ago that I was going to close Wonderful Web Women and I was going to build my brand, all new offerings, all new branding, new messaging, new everything on Romance Your Tribe and launch this podcast, Romance Your Tribe Radio. And it's been going for 12 months now. So I made that decision 12 months ago, but I still had clients who were working through programs that they had purchased that were housed on Wonderful Web Women. And so I had to let them finish that first because really I was going to start everything from scratch. So those all of those programs are going as well. So I needed 12 months to let people finish off, and then now it is going. It's a really funny energy. Like I've got that sort of energy of the decluttering. You know, when you're looking in the wardrobe and you've got this, really cute pair of jeans and you're going, oh, I'm sure I can make myself fit into that again. Like that feels, I love them. They've got beautiful history. I'm sure I will find a time where I can wear them again. They'll come back in fashion or they'll fit. And you really, really don't want to let them go. But you know that you've outgrown them. And so you know that you need to throw them out, and as soon as you do that, it's going to clear the energy for something fantastic to come in. But it's really, really hard to do. So that's how it feels at the moment. I feel like I'm doing a declutter, that torn energy. So I've got that sort of grieving, not wanting to let go, but I'm also really, really excited because it's almost like this is something that I've been carrying around and now it's going to go completely. So next week I'm going to run another podcast that's going to be all around the different parts of your business that you can be decluttering to clear out that energy. So that'll be a fun one. That's just my way of working through also this feeling of the declutter. So that's how it feels at the moment. And the reason we're removing all of the files and everything is because that's a real vulnerability in an online business. If you have a website that you are no longer maintaining, especially one like ours that evolved over 10 years, that has an amazing amount of resources and an amazing amount of software, plugins, all of those things that are vulnerabilities to hackers. So that's why everything is getting removed. Okay, so let me walk you through how I have made that decision. And I'm going to share with you the different lessons so you may recognize yourself at some of the stages that I'm going to be talking about. And you may be able to hopefully, I'm going to share with you some real stories and some real learning points that you can be applying in your own business. So instead of just saying, this is why I made the decision and how I made it, to really understand, I'm going to walk you through how Wonderful Web Women started, or very briefly, the main milestones, but the lessons, because it's a business that has really, really evolved a lot over the years in response to my clients, in response to what I could do to help you, and importantly, in response to changes that were happening online. And there are changes happening again now. So I'm going to walk you through what those changes were and how I responded to those to make sure that I was ahead of the game. So that's what I'll walk you through. So by the end, you will understand exactly how I came to that decision. And you will also be able to know, you know what, are some parts of this important for me? Should I be perhaps detonating like Janet? Or maybe I'm better to renovate. Or maybe what I've got has, going through this process, has made me realize that what I've got's working really well, but I can tweak. So I'd love to hear from you if any of those things like a renovating, a detonating, or a celebrating is your result of what I'm going through here. And also a heads up, next week, if you're listening to this live, next week I've got a special masterclass that I'm going to be running for you, totally free, where I'm going to be walking you through how to actually make that decision on whether you should renovate, detonate, or celebrate, and how to recognize the signs and what to do about it, so that it's actually you're doing that with confidence. So I'll have some links down below, and if you're on my email list, I'll send those to you as well, so that you can take part in that webinar. And it's going to be run as a masterclass, total teaching. All right, so let's get stuck into it. Going to have a little sip of water here. All right, now I've been taking notes because, as you can imagine, 10 years is a long time, especially online, for me to be running this business, Wonderful Web Women. So I'm going to walk you through the major milestones, the major pivot points, and the lessons learned. So I'll be doing it quickly, but I'll share a story so you can understand. So I'll see if that can relate to you. And you know what? As I'm going through this, if you have been a part of my tribe when it was Wonderful Web Women at any of these stages, I would so love to hear from you. I would really love to hear from you. So please, if you come over to the blog post for here, if you're on here, you'll already see the links, down below to leave a comment. I'd love to hear your comments, and put the comments there if you can, rather than say dropping me an email, because we can have a little bit of a reunion party here on this post. I'd love to be able to hear from you, what you remember of those times back in the day. Okay, so these are the steps that Wonderful Web Women went through, and the lessons for you. Okay, so step number 1 was the idea for Wonderful Web Women was launched in a toilet. Yes, in to be more specific, in the ladies' toilets at a conference down in Sydney, all around internet marketing. And the reason happened is I had just sold my very first business, my first online business, which was an online art gallery. I've got other articles here on the Romance Your Tribe blog here that talk to you about that and that experience of going through that first business. Anyway, I had sold it, and I had decided I was going to immerse myself in as many conferences as I could to learn as much as I could about different business models for online marketing, and so I could choose what was going to be my next venture, and I could go into it really, really well informed, and that I was going to give myself a year to learn as much, but take action as I was doing it, not just learn. Do stuff, practice, tweak, and work out the best thing for me. Now, what I found after going even just to the first one of these conferences was they were all men on stage. There were very, very few chicks up there teaching. And if they were up there with their husbands. and which was wonderful that they had a partnership. But it was really frustrating for women in the audience to go, well, I want to find somebody who's like me that I can relate to. So in the women's toilets at lunchtime, when everybody's lined up and the queue's going out the door, the discussion is happening because everybody's lined up and they're talking. And I started to notice a trend. They were all talking about, where's the chicks? I need some female role models. I need to see people who've made it work on the strengths of being a woman. I want to be able to hear about how women approach things. I don't want this whole testosterone sort of high competitive type thing. I want to do it in a collaborative way like women like to do. I want to be able to see women who've been older, younger, mothers, not mothers. All of these sorts of things. Where can I learn from them? And so I started to notice this trend and I thought, wonder if there is a business here. So that's where it started from. Now, because of my first business, I'd learned don't just jump straight in and think it's a great idea. So I then spent the rest of my time at these conferences that I was going to, not just listening, I did it in a very systematic way. Pre-telephone, I didn't have a phone back then, so I had an MP3 recorder, and yep, I was the weirdo going up and down the lines in the ladies' toilets, in that line, interviewing people, saying, tell me what's your frustration. So, surveying them. What are you looking for? What sort of role models are you looking for? What do you want me to ask them? Do you know somebody who you would really love to hear from? So I did my market research there. So over that course of that year, I knew that there was a market there. I knew that people wanted to hear from female mentors. They wanted those role models. And even though the advice from all the different mentors that I was learning from, which were all men at that stage, they were saying, look, it's never going to work. Women don't spend money. Hello. There's not that many successful women to get role models. Hello. Even though I was being advised against it, I knew because I had done the survey. So that's where it started, in the women's toilets. So my idea was, you know what? I'm going to go and find all these amazingly successful women and I'm going to interview them. And I'm going to invite everybody to come along and listen to those interviews live, and I'll work out a way to make money. That's what I did. So, lessons from this stage is, number one, listen. Pay attention. What are people saying? Listen to people's frustrations. Now you don't have to go to the loos. You can go to a Facebook group. It's so much easier now. You don't necessarily have to go and hang out in the women's toilets, but where is your equivalent online? So listen to what people have got to say. And then if you think there's something that's a trend, don't just assume you've got it right. Spend your time and do the research. So that's the lessons from step one. Now, you may notice that I said, I'm just going to go and find them and I'm going to interview them and I'll work out a way to make money. That's exactly where I started from. So this has all been very much a progress of me going, you know what? I'm going to do it. I am going to make this work and then I'm going to work out how to do it afterwards. That's what I did. It's that kind of saying yes and then, basically going, yes, I'm going to do it, and then going, oh shit, how am I going to do it? That's how it's all worked. Still the way that I'm running my business in a lot of ways. You just got to have a go, okay? Got to have a go, fail forward, and fail fast. And that's how you succeed. So how's that for a bit of profoundness? I know I didn't make that. Somebody else made that one up. All right, so the next step. All right, so I worked out, okay, I'm going to find the most successful women and I'm going to go straight to the top. I'm going to see if I can find the women who are really making a difference online, and I'm going to ask them first if I can interview them. I'll work out, before I do the interviews, I'll work out how to do that on the software. I'll work that out at the last minute. But that was my decision. So I started with just an 8-week project and said, okay, I am going to find 8 women and I'm going to interview them. I'm going to interview them live. And I know how I can make some money. They're all selling things, so what I'll do is I'll let them make an offer on the interview, and if they make any sales, I'll get a commission. Most of them were 30 to 50% commission. So let me see if that can work, because I don't have anything to sell yet. So that's where I started from. Now, I didn't have a mailing list. So what I did is I used the Tele-Summit model, which is really, really common now, but it wasn't common back then. I couldn't find any programs to teach me how to do it. So I had to try to find lots of people to introduce me to different parts of it and try to work it all out myself. But the way that it worked really, really well is I asked every single one of those women if they would email their beautiful engaged email lists and send them all over to a registration page where people could sign up to hear all of the interviews, to be on the list, to be able to come along live. Now, that was really innovative back then, 10 years ago. Now it's not so, it still works really well, but it's not as if it's uncommon. But back then it was, and so people, I built a list of thousands in just a few short weeks. So the lessons from this is, set a goal and then hustle it, baby. Hustle, hustle, hustle. Do the hard work. When you're starting out, you've got to put in that hard work. You can slow down, I'm a lot more relaxed now, but when you're starting out, you've got to put in that hard work. So we worked long hours. I motivated my husband in every way I could think possible to help me with things. We had to learn the technology, had to discover what technology, had to learn how to make a website, had to, all these things to learn how to do. Just did it. And so I set a date and announced that this is when we were going live. So that's number one. Set a goal, make yourself accountable by announcing it, and then just do whatever it takes to make it happen. The next thing is affiliate sales are fantastic. So affiliate sales, when you get a commission, you bring the audience and somebody else makes the sale and you get a cut. It's a really good way. I still have affiliate commissions are still a part of my business, even though it's not my core part. That's how I started out. I didn't have anything to sell. I just introduced people. And the Tele-Summit model is a really, really good one. Now, what I did do is just a couple of weeks before the actual first interview is somebody had said, I had said, I'll see what people think and I might start a membership site and I might do more than the 8 weeks. I'll see how I go. And then one of my mentors at these numerous conferences said, why don't you just do it now? You're going to do it. All right, I'll do it. So that's what I did. I launched a membership site 2 weeks beforehand. So when it went live, if people wanted to get the interviews, podcasts are here now, it wouldn't work. But, if people wanted to get the recordings of the interviews and the transcripts, well, they could pay me a monthly membership fee. So I hadn't done any interviews. There was nothing in there. But when we launched, people purchased it for $47 a month. I couldn't believe it. So that was another stream of income. If nobody had bought it, well, that's life. At least I gave it a go. So yes, they are the lessons from that. And you know what? That meant that within 8 weeks, I had built a list of thousands. I had actually made more money through all of the affiliate sales and the memberships than I had in the 12 months previously. So it's, it worked. It worked. Now, I had spent 12 months before experimenting with different things. They hadn't worked. So this one did because I did my research. I knew. So the lessons for you is, are you at a stage where, you might have been experimenting and plodding along? If you've done your research and know what it's going to do, make it happen. Okay? Don't just dawdle along. Take massive action. Then you can start to relax. Okay, now that Tele-Summit, because it took off so well, that technique and the results that I got, that's what won me Australian Marketer of the Year. So another lesson from that is enter awards, okay? Just enter awards. You never know what's going to happen as a result of that. I got a trip to Thailand. That was pretty good. Okay, now the next thing is this 8-week project then grew really, really fast. So I'm going to share with you the reasons why it grew fast and some lessons that are there for you. Now, a few things that happened. Number one is my 8th speaker fell through. Her gatekeeper was just stuffing me around with the dates. And I had already set the dates when we were going to go live. I had got all of these speakers who I had worked out how I was going to interview them. they had committed and they were going to promote, and I didn't have the 8th speaker. So, kind of cheekily and kind of gutsy, really, when I look back, is I made I put myself down as speaker number 8, and I actually found one of the people who'd been turning up every week listening. I asked her if she wanted to interview me. So one of my customers, I got my customer to be the host, the interviewer, and I was the guest expert. And I set, before we even went live with the first one, I set the topic of how I built a list of thousands in 8 short weeks, and how you can too. So talk about putting the pressure on yourself to succeed. So I made sure I succeeded. But importantly, by putting myself as number 8, I positioned myself as equal to the other speakers. It hadn't been intended to do that, but that was really important. Now, the other thing that I did was, because every other speaker had made an offer and was going to make, and I was getting affiliate cuts, I decided, well, I should make an offer. So I launched my very, very first online course, which was sold. I think I sold it for under $500, and it was called Wonderful Web Seminars. So if you're part of that program, I'd love to hear from you. Come and leave me a comment. And I taught, how do you build a list of 8,000? How do you run a telesummit, basically? So the lesson for you here is, number 1 is be prepared to position yourself up there with the experts, even if you don't feel that you've earned it yet. Just see if you can put yourself in a position where you're not going to have to say, hey, us, we're mates, where people can make that assumption themselves. And importantly, I launched the Wonderful Web Seminars program, and I didn't have the program yet. So it was going to be produced step by step. So make the sales and then produce the content with people when you're first launching. Now, that program, I ended up running workshops, creating videos, all those sorts of things, and that program ended up selling for $2,000 at the end, and definitely was worth it. But the first time I ran it, it was just, I think, a 6-week course. There you go. So make it happen. Just see if you can get the sales first. The other thing that happened for me was, I don't know, I just built such a beautiful tribe around the interviews, because I was answering, there was a need. People were really hungry for this. People who I was interviewing got such great sales, and they really enjoyed the interview so much, probably because I wasn't particularly polished. So I just asked questions, is they were telling their friends, hey, there's this great woman, there's a platform where you can get your message out there. So I had the experts coming to me and asking if I could interview them. I ran a weekly interview for 2 years. Then I decided to just slow it down a bit, and I did it every 2 weeks for another 2 years. So much so for there's not enough successful women out there. Like, it was amazing. So that meant that the membership site that had nothing in it was getting chock-a-block. So it took off. So the lessons from this one are, don't wait to get all of your ducks in a row, okay? So see if there is a response. Don't overinvest to start with, but see if there is a response. And if there is, then go with that flow. Keep on responding. And if people are asking to learn way you do things, say, all right, I'm going to teach you, but you're all going to be the very first lot, so we're going to be creating it week by week as we go. And just be totally open. So just make it happen. So is that the stage that you're at now? If so, I can help you with all that stuff. That's what I do. All right, now let's look at the next stage. The really interesting thing about interviewing successful people, and you can do this now through podcasting. You don't have to do it, you don't have to do it through a membership site. It won't work now anyway. People are they going to get the recordings on a podcast? By a podcast, or by you doing any joint ventures, doing a telesummit perhaps, by you associating with experts, is you get to know them, okay? And if they like you, well, then they can open up the opportunities for you. So don't be scared to approach people and build those relationships. So the next thing that happened from that is the momentum kept on building. So one of my guest speakers invited me to go over to America and present from the stage. So I said, yes, of course I can do that. And she said, you have to have a program of at least $1,500 to $2,000 to sell. Yeah, I can turn my $500 one into $2,000. Let me work out how to do that, how to make it worth that value. And speak from the stage and sell. Yeah, sure, I can work that out. Had no idea. Of course, I went and interviewed somebody who specializes in it so I could learn. So that's the next thing, is take those opportunities and then work out how to do the job really well. So if those opportunities come up and they are definitely congruent with what you wanted to do, grab them. Because as soon as you do that, the funny thing was, because I went to America, I spoke from the stage, I practiced and practiced and practiced beforehand. I was so nervous that I gave an hour and a half talk in an hour. I spoke so fast. But still, I made all these sales. They were happy. So, but when I came back to Australia, then all these opportunities came in as a speaker because I was an international speaker. Go figure. So take those opportunities. You don't know where it's going to lead you. And, you know, that's where we started winning lots of other awards. I was invited to take part in a collaborative best-selling book. And, you know, that's when I won all these awards. So, you know, take those opportunities, listen to your market, and then take the opportunities. But only the opportunities that are going to move you forward with what you can do and helping the people who you serve. So from there is say yes and then figure it out. It's a bit stressful, but just do it. Enter awards. You know, it gives you credibility, and also the process of actually entering the award really makes you look at what you're doing in your business. You know, don't enter, you know, like, you know, Mickey Mouse type ones. Enter a proper one, you know, one that is actually competitive. And, you know, if you can accept one invitation that really moves you out of your comfort zone, whether it's to be interviewed on a podcast, whether to be a presenter at a conference, whether to, you know, speak at your local business meeting, whatever it is, take that opportunity, because you don't know what doors are going to open, who's going to be there listening. Okay, moving right along, folks. Now, between this and the next step, a crisis happened. New Year's Day, all of our websites went down. Now, first of all, we would go, oh, well, there's something wrong with the server. I'll just get in contact with the host. They'll put it up. Very, very long story short, all our hosting had gone belly up. It was during the financial crisis. Our host had gone bankrupt and hadn't told any of his clients, and the server had gone. Even worse, I absolutely adored this host. He had been really, really good. So I had a lot of my clients that I had referred there. They lost sites as well. It was awful. So we lost everything. We lost Wonderful Web Women. We lost Wonderful Web Seminars, the program that I had been selling. Everything just went. So I actually really seriously thought about quitting. I spent a whole 24 hours crying, and then went through a pros and cons. You know, should I quit? Should I rebuild? If I quit, what will I do instead? Then I realized, you know what? I love what I'm doing, and I would be a terrible employee. So this is an opportunity for me to actually come back and do this better. And that's what I did. Now, during that time, I actually had people asking to pay to join the Wonderful Web Women membership, and we didn't even have a website. They were so loyal. People wanted to join it, and it didn't even exist. So, a long story short with that one is we made it happen. We made it happen. I worked very, very hard. My children were just young then, and they went camping with my sister, and we worked flat out. My husband took holidays, and I shared every single step along the way with my existing database. So the first thing we did is within 2 days, I got a blog going. Our websites have been gone. I got a new host, and I got a blog going. So I had a way to communicate with people. The other lesson here was I did not lose my email database, because I recognized early on that I needed to keep my email database separate to all of our other software. so that if one thing went, I still had my database. So protect your email database, download it, keep a copy so that you can always contact. So because I could send an email out and I could have a discussion and keep everybody up to date through a blog, the support that I got from my tribe was incredible. A few days later, I had sent a survey out saying, I'm going to rebuild, so let's make it even better. Let's turn this lemon into margaritas. The beautiful tribe that I had built over those years was now supporting me to be able to come back stronger. It was such an incredibly positive time. Within 2 weeks, we had completely rebuilt the Wonderful Web seminars, and we had rebuilt, within the month, we had built Wonderful Web Women, and we had not lost a single member. Unbelievable. They stuck with me even though there was nothing there. And in fact, our membership increased. Unbelievable. And that was because all the backups that we'd been doing, the software we were using, the backups didn't work. Hard way to learn it. So that was the question. So the lessons for you here are, you know what? You're going to get times when things just go really, really bad in your business. They really, really will. And you've got to make that decision about, am I going to keep on going or am I going to quit? If you quit, that's okay. Just make sure it's the right decision for you. If you're going to stick with it, know that that's because if you're wanting to stick with it, it means, you know, you're in the right business. You've got the right clients because you're going to be driven to do that. So it really reinforces that you're in the right place. So if that's something that, whether that crisis is what ours happened, that everything that was making money just disappeared, or it could be something completely different that has happened to you. It could be a launch not working. It could be a personal issue that's happened. You could be going through a divorce and the stress that goes with that, whatever it is. They're the things you've got to think of. Know whichever decision you make it's right, okay? But make sure that you're making the decision. Is it what you want to do? Work through those pros and cons. Now, we've nearly finished here. The next thing we did is the market changed. Podcasts came in. Telesummits became popular. And telesummits going through to a membership site, where people could get the recordings, they were becoming popular. I mean, I taught a lot of people by then. So I needed to adapt. So that's what we did. We stopped doing the interviews. I had my clients were saying to me, enough with you acting as the person who is introducing us to the mentors. You're our mentor. We want to learn your systems. So that was the next step. I changed the model over to being a monthly module, a teaching module. So the lesson for you here is adapt to the market. If I had stuck with my initial business model, which was working exceptionally well, if I had stuck with that for another year, I would have gone broke because the market had changed. And if I didn't adapt, people weren't going to be paying for those recordings anymore. They could get them through a podcast. So adapt and look to see what your market wants. So of course, before I did that, I surveyed my list to see what they wanted. So that is the big lesson for you, is watch those trends. So the next thing then that I did was, I had really developed a system by this stage with working with a lot of people, because at this time people had been coming to me saying, can I pay you for you to coach me? Yeah, sure. I'll work it out how to do that. I had also launched my first hire-in programs, working closely with a few people, and realized I loved it. So the next step then was really taking the way that I do things and finding my own signature system, finding the way that I do things, building my own language around that, building my own brand, and step by step being able to guide through. And that's where the Romance Your Tribe brand, the concept, started to evolve. And I used that Romance Your Tribe languaging, the steps that I followed people through. I did that and created a program called Shine Online. And that ended up replacing my membership program. So instead of working with people for $47 a month or $37 a month if they got the special offer, I then changed it to, I'm just going to work closely with people and help a fewer people get really good results. And I'm going to do that through my signature program And I'm going to do that by having a next level up, which was my wonderful web leaders, which was my VIP programs. And I'm going to work closely with people to really go them step by step to get the results. And so that's what I did. Now, it was a really big gamble at that stage. Now, the reason I did that is I noticed that there was getting to be a lot of modular membership sites coming out. Again, I was keeping an eye on the market. And I also was thinking, you know what? You can get really, really busy with people on a low price program, with people that aren't necessarily taking action, but they can be using up a lot of your oxygen. And so I thought, you know what? I want to be working with people who take action. So even though I love the buzz of the whole membership programs and that sort of thing, it was a lot of buzz. You can get busy when I could be doing, I guess, less busyness, more impact. That's what I was looking for. So that was our next step, the Shine Online program. And I knew I'd made the right decision when we had removed the buy button from the special offer for $37 that people got if they had purchased another program, and they got a special offer. We'd moved the buy button, but not the sales letter. And I got an email from someone saying, I'm trying to buy, but I can't find the buy button. And I messaged her back going, oops, you've caught us, just as we're changing. How about I just get on the phone with you and I'll find out what it is that you need, and I'll see if I can help you. So she was going to buy a $37 a month program. She ended up buying a $10,000 program. And we're still really good friends. We got, I really helped her to get some great results, and just an absolutely awesome woman. So I was able to make a big impact on her, much more than I could through a $37 a month with multiple people. So that reinforced for me it was a really good decision. So the lessons for you on this are, do you have a signature system? Do you have a way that you walk people through doing things? And can you create that into a step-by-step program? Can you be working with people at a few different levels, the VIPs, but also the course program? Can you be doing that? If so, then absolutely that's what I can help you with, because now we're moving over to the last step. Because, as you can imagine, this business started out as a search for female role models, hence the name Wonderful Web Women. Over the years of evolving to the market and also how I could help people, it no longer was a website that was sharing female role models, being run by women for women. What it was instead was a step-by-step coaching and mentoring community, a program where I could walk you step by step, where it was self-guided, or I could hold your hand and we could be working at a VIP level in an intimate group. That is very different to the original. And it was at this stage where I thought, you know what? Wonderful Web Women is no longer Wonderful Web Women. It's evolved to be something completely different. And yet, the name and the history of it kept me in that limbo of, should I go back to the future? Should I go back and reinvent again and make it Wonderful Web Women? But then there's other people doing a great job at that. I don't need to do that anymore. So it was holding me back, and it was making it very difficult for me to be able to step up into the next level of leading the next group of people who are going to make the impact. And so that is why Wonderful Web Women had to go. And it wasn't an easy decision to make. But I really had to, the way that I made that decision was really visualizing about what was the impact that I wanted to make. What do I want to be known for, and who do I want to work for? And if my existing brand, if the name, if the history of it all and what I am known for does not represent what I am capable of, it will restrict me. So my question to you is, is your business that you have got to you at this stage, is it holding you back? Have you evolved beyond it? Does it not represent what you're doing? Do you need to either renovate? You may not need to change the name in the site like I had to. Maybe you need to renovate. Or maybe you need to detonate it and totally own a new brand, step up into something new. Or maybe you realize, you know what, this is spot on, but I can play a bigger game and do this even better because I'm confident that I'm in the right place. So you need to ask yourself those questions. And so that's what I'm going to be doing on my webinar what's a real masterclass teaching you next week. We're going to go through that process and help you make those decisions, and so you'll know what to do next, because that's what happened with me. I then decided to really step up and own my whole signature system of Romance Your Tribe, and made the decision to I already had a book which was already best-selling on Romance Your Tribe, that I was then going to go and make that my whole business. That the Janet Beckers brand will all be through social media, but the system itself is going to be the baby. It's going to be the star, because I know it works. I've done it with enough people. So now on Romance Your Tribe, you will see that I have a different suite of programs called Attract Your Tribe. And what I did is everything that had been done in Shine, everything I've been doing with my clients, I worked with a consultant to really help me make sure, how can I make it as fast for people and as simple for people? And I'm going to go step by step and recreate everything from scratch with all of the lessons that I have learned from going through this process. And so it's the best program I have ever created. It really reflects the results I can get now, and people are getting results faster and with less stress. I'm so proud of it. Really, really excited. And that was because I had made that decision to own that new brand. And so my VIP levels of the Attract Your Tribe Accelerator and my next level, the Rising Stars, it's simple. It's a much simpler business model, and I know I can make a big impact through that. So the question for you is, what works for you? You might find that having a membership site with a lot more people at a lower price might be the energy that you want. That could be good. Or you might be like me, where you're going, you know what? I'm going to have a nested business model. I'm going to have it so my system is the star, and I can have different levels of support for people. And I can be working closer with less people, but have a bigger impact, because they're the people who want to take action. What works for you? Do you have a signature system in you? Is your brand, are you able to make the impact through the way that you currently have your offers and your message? Are you able to have the impact that you know you're capable of? That's my question to you, because that's what I specialize in doing now, is helping you to get your message super clear and to create group programs, get your online presence, and really be there to stay and to lead. And so that's what I help people do now, and I absolutely love it. And that's the evolution, and that's how I've made that decision. So going back to the very beginning, it's time now. It's time, because the Romance Your Tribe program, the website is really great now. The podcast has been going for a year, and I've got clearer on my message. The Attract Your Tribe program is my core signature program. It's getting results faster, and I know it works. My VIPs are getting results, and I absolutely adore them. So for me, it's a simpler business, and I'm loving it because I can see the impact I can make. It's going to take me to the next level that I want. And so for that reason, Wonderful Web Women, that beautiful, beautiful vehicle that took me through this whole journey, I can now kiss it goodbye and let it go, because it's done its job. So that's what's happening this week. So if you're on the web page, and you may be watching this well after the fact, now if you type in wonderfulwebwomen.com, it will come to this page. And so now you know the story of why Wonderful Web Women no longer exists, why I closed my award-winning website, and why it was the best thing that I have done. So I would love to hear from you. The journey that I have shared with you, it's been a little bit of a longer podcast than I normally do, because I had a lot to share with you today. I'd love to hear from you. First of all, if you've been a member of Wonderful Web Women in any of those formats that I was talking about, I would love to hear from you. Let's have a little tiny bit of a reunion happening here. I'd love to hear from you. And the best place is leave a comment here on the blog so we can all sort of take part in the conversation. Now, also the different stages that I've shared, do you recognize yourself in any of those stages and the decisions that I've had to make and the lessons that I learned? I'd love to hear from you. Do any of those resonate for you? And any ahas, please, I'd love to hear from you on that. And also, you know, if you're wanting to even understand like the logistics of how do I close a whole website and then make sure everything, redirects, just ask any questions. We can have that discussion over in the Romance Your Tribe Facebook group. We can have a bit of a discussion there around what I've been doing and how do you do it yourself. Any of that techie stuff, I can help you with some of that sort of advice. Then just come over there. That's a great place to do that. So, thank you for listening. And if you have been part of this journey of wonderful web women for the last 10 years, I am so incredibly grateful that you are part of my tribe. And I'm really hoping that you're going to continue with the next phase of the growth of this whole brand and the impact that I really want to be able to make to help you make your impact. If you've been part of that, I'm really, really excited and very grateful that you have been part of there, and I am here to stay, baby, in a bigger way. So I'm still here to help you. Okay, bye.